Let's see about getting some interesting conversations today. Am I right? Or am I right? We're notifying viewers that you are live. Well, thank you, TikTok. Wouldn't it be funny if I just sat here by myself the whole time? Oh, we got some people in here now. Fantastic. Let's see if anyone's able to give me a good reason to think otherwise. Oh, I should probably log into my TikTok on my iPad. Well, howdy, hey, everybody. Good to see all the people of cyberspace. Let's see if we get any interesting takers today. I'm Dalton, the Bible guy, and I'm an atheist, and I do not think that Jesus was the Messiah. Are my headphones working properly? Oh, I see the noise canceling feature wasn't turned on. Anyways, so I'm Dalton, the Bible guy. I'm an atheist, and I do not think that Jesus was the Messiah. And I don't think we have any good reason to think he was the Messiah. So, if you disagree with me, jump up in the box and let's have a conversation. I am going to say this is not a conversation, which, ironically enough, this is like the number one claim of Christianity. Watts 96 says you shouldn't. Hope this helps. I agree. But this is the number one claim of Christianity, that Jesus was the Messiah. And yet, it's a talking point that not very many Christians are capable of defending. You think that this would be like the primary argument that they would focus on trying to prove, but it's not, strangely enough. So I grew up Christian, but once I read the Hebrew Bible in its original language and context, I came to the understanding that Jesus couldn't be the Messiah because he didn't fulfill a single messianic prophecy. And also, we have no evidence for any of the things said about him in the Gospels. In fact, I would say that the majority of the Gospels is mythology. Not that Jesus didn't exist, but that the things written about Jesus are not true. They have no idea what they believe. This is true, Thistle Honey. They do not. I mean, listen, here's the thing. A lot of Christians do not know the Bible. They have a very shallow, cursory sort of understanding of the Bible. But a lot of them haven't really dug in depth to the scriptures. I often say that the reason I'm called the Bible guy is because I know the Bible better than most Christians. But the thing is that that's not a really high bar. Most Christians on this app don't know the Bible at all. Let's see what this person says. Wow, 2,000 years and millions of scholars, and you have figured it out. Yeah, there's a lot of scholars today who would agree with me. And also, are you making the claim that because a majority of people believe something, therefore it's true? That's an argument ad populum. It's a fallacy. There was a time in history, for a long time, people thought the earth was flat. But just because a lot of people believed it for a very long time, didn't make it true. Bro, do you believe rapture happening? I don't know if you heard. That's what they keep saying, but no, of course not. Dalton, you're a bit quiet. Sorry. No need for faith or free will if it was 100% indisputably proven. I mean, I don't believe in free will, and faith is a pretty useless method for getting to the truth. Am I still quiet, everybody? Let me check my settings. Let's see. My settings seem to be pretty good.
I can hear you.
Hi, Calcifer. How are you doing today?
Hello. No, you're not quiet. I can hear you. I could hear you down in the comments.
Fantastic. That's good to know. That's good. Maybe it was just the simple one individual who said that. Uh, do you know what a contemporaneous memo is? I know what a memo is. I know what it means for something to be contemporaneous. But what exactly is it that you're talking about?
I'm
Holy,
gonna pull the I just work here card.
Holy Hunker says, "Hi, Bible guy. Howdy, Holy Hunkers." That's a wild username. Um, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 said Jesus claimed to be the Messiah and said he would resurrect after dead, which affirmed his claim. Except for we don't have any reason to think Jesus resurrected from the dead.
Mm-hmm.
And and there's been lots of Jewish men who have claimed to be the Messiah, and just like Jesus, they didn't like fit the criteria for Messiah.
I am the Messiah for pure evil or
You know,
chaos.
I it took me forever to find this nice picture, but the problem is that it kind of doesn't mean that my whole body takes up the space. But oh well,
I mean,
it is what it is.
you can choose the filter that makes you like transparent.
Oh yeah, but I don't want to look like a forced ghost. E-Page said, it, if there is a large number of people who witness something, it becomes law according to the Supreme. No, and we also
What?
don't know that. Yeah, and we also don't know that large number of people saw Jesus resurrected. There's no evidence for
How,
that.
so a large number of people witnessed Charlie Kirk got unalived. How does that become law? Like what?
Yeah, I don't know what it means for something to become law. Someone said, so you have Mark, John, Luke, Mary, David, who all witnessed Jesus. First off, David lived 1,000 years before Jesus, so no, he didn't witness him. And Luke and John and Mark, those are the names that we attribute to the Gospels, but those are later traditions. We actually don't know who wrote the Gospels, and we certainly don't have any testimony from Mary. So, E Page says, put me on.
He's not
All
even
right.
on the request.
I mean, I can. I guess I can ask them to come up. I don't know how to do that. Yeah, you're just gonna have to ask him because I don't know how to work the app, dude. KTM says, "Don't please. He hasn't read the Bible." Who? E-Page? Probably not. Faithful Unique says Isaiah 53. Isaiah 53 is not about the Messiah. Why shouldn't you? Because he gave me no reason to think he was the Messiah. I have about as much reason to think that this man was the Messiah as Bar Kokhba or Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson or Zvi Sheptai. So, so no, he's just another pretender. I am surprised. There's like, have you read Old and New Testament? I've read the whole Bible. Battle Axe says he's black. No, Jesus of Nazareth, if he existed, would have been Middle Eastern. Joe Mandeville says the Bible clear it up. No, the Bible actually does the exact opposite. It makes it a lot more unclear, especially when you read the Hebrew Bible in its original context. It becomes quite clear that Jesus wasn't the Messiah. Did any of those people rise from the dead? No, but neither did Jesus. Tickle 100? I don't think so. Israel is African American? Nope. I'm sorry, no. And you're gonna have to show me that from the Bible. You have to use like genetic evidence to prove that. Otherwise, I'm just gonna claim that you are trying to culturally appropriate another people's culture. Yeah. Howdy, sir. Many eyewitnesses beg to differ. We don't have any eyewitnesses for the resurrection. What's with all the people in the comments section just blabbing away? Why doesn't anyone want to come up and talk to me?
They're too scared. All of them are too scared.
Yeah, that's probably right. Marcus says, back at it, absolutely. Oh, I can't. Thank you for the heart. You are an intimidating presence.
I mean, I am the god of pure chaos, so they got a point.
Brab says, God can't lie, he can't sin, he can't die, he had no start, he is going to soon destroy this system. Nice claim, I don't think you can back that up, though. Also, Battle Axe, I don't use the King James Version, it's a shit translation. And also, Jesus lied. He said that he would return within that generation, and he never did. Yeah, Battle Axe, maybe you shouldn't be reading the King James Version Bible. It's kind of skewing your theology, it would seem. Hey, Aaron, how you doing? Missy says, in all caps, you know what? You don't have to believe he gives us choice. Not really. Yeah, he did. He said, in this generation. Yeah, Jesus said that there are some standing here who will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. Missy, look, you learned how to not type in all caps. That's fantastic. Good for you. You okay? Oh yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I was a little bit annoyed earlier today because I ran across a Black Hebrew Israelites live, and they just annoyed the hell out of me. Hey, Battle Axe. Who do you think Song of Solomon chapter 1 is talking about? It's not talking about Solomon. Yeah, it especially annoys me whenever I see someone using fake Hebrew. It's just so cringe. Let's see. Here, Battle X, I'm just gonna mute you, and if you want to actually have a conversation, then you can come up and talk to me. How about that? Catch me outside, how about that? Young Nazarene says, Messiah equals anointed by God. If you don't believe in God, what's the point of the prompt? I mean, if you could prove to me Jesus was Messiah, I would have to believe in God, wouldn't I? You don't have to start with a God belief in order to believe in this. If you could demonstrate that Jesus was a Messiah, I would believe in God. It's that simple. Look at yourself and ask the question again. I'm literally looking at myself right now. That's what the whole camera thing is all about. Just saying. Where is the gorgeous wood background? It's right there. Joe says he's demonic and trying to make you question your salvation. It's a Satan thing. Aww. See, that's what Christians have historically done whenever they are incapable of proving their point. They just point at the opposition and say that they're the devil. Because that's an easy way of like getting out of actually proving a point, right? I told you not to play foosball, Bobby Boucher. Foosball is of the devil.
Don't you get away? Don't you diss my foosball?
Oh my gosh, Rap says he returned in 1914. Most of humanity missed it. Wars. Wait, no, that can't... Listen, okay. Anyone who has read the Bible knows that it says that every eye will see him. So the idea that he returned and people just like missed it because they were kind of busy or whatever is a ridiculous claim. Gee whiz. People just be making shit up now. Also, there's been wars and pestilence since like always. As long as humanity has been around, there have been wars and pestilence, so that's not a unique claim. We got Benjamin Bottacini. Benjamin, I have 3 questions to ask you. Question number 1, are you at least 18 years old or older?
I say that I fall into that category, I would say.
Question number 2, do you believe Jesus was the Messiah?
Yes, sir.
Alright, and question number 3, what are your pronouns?
For sake of conversation, I would say any pronoun other than Neo or Fairy pronouns. However, I don't mind Fair, but I would be okay with...
Can you just tell me what you prefer, what you go by, instead of wasting all of our time?
Yeah, you can just do they, she.
They, she,
They,
awesome.
she.
Cool. I have
Right.
one question. I have one question before you start. You know the question I'm going to ask him. Would you like to buy some Soul's extended warranty?
Why, what?
Your Soul's extended warranty. Are you interested in buying some?
Oh, I don't know what that is.
It's warranty for your soul.
Oh, I have that through Jesus Christ.
Nah, that's not good enough.
No, it is.
So, Benjamin, why should I think Jesus is the Messiah?
I don't know. I'd say most of it's anecdotal.
What?
Anecdotal, man.
Did you
Go
just say
to...
Dodo?
What's that?
What
Did
did
you
you
say Google?
say?
Antidotal.
Oh, antidote.
Oh, okay. Do you have anything that's not anecdotal? Anecdotal? For why I should believe Jesus was the Messiah?
that Jesus essentially fulfilled the prophecy of, at least to some extent.
Oh, could you name one prophecy he fulfilled?
Yeah. The son being born in Bethlehem.
Oh, where does the Hebrew Bible say that the Messiah will be born in Bethlehem?
I don't have the Hebrew on deck. Listen, actually, that's what I want to do. Just go down line. Take a look at this. Hold on. I have to finish making. Okay, see this right here? This right here is Jewish corn chowder, bud. Okay? So, I gotta finish making this and then I'm gonna come back, right? But, I want to continue this conversation.
Cool. Enjoy your food. Share with the class. We'll be here.
Hold on, I'll bring you up whole, you know what I'm saying? I got
We'll
you.
be here. We'll be here. We'll be here.
Sounds good.
Alright. Oh boy. And just a fair warning, if the passage you bring me doesn't use the word born or birthed or anything like that, I'm not going to think it says the Messiah will be born in Bethlehem. Alright, AJ. I have 3 questions for you. Question number 1, are you at least 18 years old or older?
Yes, I am.
Question number 2, do you believe Jesus was the Messiah?
Yes.
Question number 3, what are your pronouns?
He?
Awesome.
All right, and-
Question number 4. Do you want to buy some extended warranty for your soul? That includes rapture insurance.
I think I get that through believing in Jesus.
No, not rapture insurance. But yes.
But,
I feel it.
AJ, why should I think that Jesus is the Messiah?
I think because we have historical evidence that Jesus was a living person, and they have eyewitness testimonies that he rose from the dead, claiming to be God, dying for our sins.
Who? I don't know of any eyewitness testimonies about Jesus. I believe Jesus
Really?
was a person, but I don't know
Okay,
of any
that's good.
eyewitness testimonies.
Well, if you can get to the part where you believe Jesus was human, that's like 50% of the work has done. The other 50% is believing in the eyewitness testimony accounts that he was really God.
I don't know of any eyewitness testimony accounts.
So the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they're historical documents
No.
dating from the first century,
I mean,
second century.
there's certainly historical documents in the sense that they're documents from history, but
Right.
we don't know who wrote the Gospels, and also we don't know where the Gospels are getting their information, and they're written decades and decades after the time of Jesus.
Right. So we don't have the legitimate authors, and we actually don't even have the original gospels, like the ones that were written down, the first ones.
Right.
So what
And
we
do the
have are
Gospels ever
copies.
tell us where they get their information from?
No, they're sources.
So there's
They're
so
short.
basically all you have are these stories about Jesus from unknown authors who don't cite where they're getting their information from. How's that different than like the tales of Romulus?
Because the tales of Romulus, it's the way they're written. The literary style is completely different. You know, when you have the scriptures in these first centuries, they are like this person, this place at this time, and obviously the style that you're
Same
referring
with
to
Romulus.
is fairy tale.
Same as Romulus. Like the Gospels don't read like biographies. Like if you read an actual biography from around this time, like the writings of Plutarch or the writings of Josephus, the
Mhm.
author will often like express skepticism. Like some say this happened, but others say this happened. But you don't see, and they often will speak in the first person. You don't see anything like that in the Gospels. They just tell a story, and that and as it, and also they tell stories about things that no one was around to witness as well. So this doesn't read like a biography of a historical, like a history. It reads like a myth about somebody.
I would disagree because when you read it, it's pretty obvious that you can see that there's real historical names that are attached to the timelines, especially like this is in a Roman setting. I mean, they talk about Pontius Pilate. They talk about
So,
Julius
so
Caesar.
if
Not
if a
Julius
text
Caesar.
mentions historical persons, then the story is true.
Not necessarily, but the way that it's written like a historical piece.
So is the life of Alexander by Plutarch, but Plutarch says that Alexander the Great was born divinely from Zeus, having sex with his mom. Why should I not accept that Alexander the Great was the son of Zeus, but accept that Jesus was the son of Yahweh?
Right. I mean, that's a claim, and then there's a claim that Jesus is the son of Yahweh. And so I guess what really brought it down for me to believe is these people that claim that they saw Jesus claim to be God and rise from the dead is that they had nothing to gain from believing that, to believe in Jesus as the Son of God because they were persecuted and nobody would die for a lie.
Well, they doesn't require them
Or what
to
they
lie.
believe is a lie.
It just requires them to be mistaken. A lie is when you know something is not
people
true.
can die. Right, correct. Yeah, people
Yeah,
will
so how-
die if they think it's true, even though it's, you know what I mean?
So
But
who's to say that, for example, that the early disciples didn't have bereavement hallucinations about their dead rabbi, and that this sparked a religious movement that resulted in people having hallucinations about Jesus?
I think because of the amount of eyewitness testimonies that we have.
Well, we don't have eyewitness testimony. That's the problem.
Well, it's recorded. So it's recorded that over a period of 40 days, over 500 people saw the
From-
risen
who wrote
Christ
this?
from the dead. These
Who
are
wrote this?
sources. We have
Who
four
wrote-
sources.
Who's the sources?
sources.
Who are the sources?
So as we call Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, but obviously I don't know specifically what they're called, but there's like a P source, there's a Q source.
Yeah,
I'm
so,
more educated on it, but
in other words, unknown
in other
sources.
words, it's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Unknown sources who don't tell us where they get their information.
Mm-hmm.
Does Matthew ever claim to be an eyewitness?
Matthew, well, I mean, I'm not sure actually.
Does
you
Mark
have
ever
something
claim
for
to
me
be an
there?
eyewitness?
I'm not sure. I got to do more research on it.
I would say no, they don't. In fact, it would be silly to say that the author of Matthew is an eyewitness, especially when they copy almost sometimes word for
Right.
word from the Gospel of Mark. We have no reason to think that these are anything other than later legends about Jesus.
I'm not sure because we have sources outside of the Bible, outside of canon, that refer to Jesus' followers being persecuted by Rome,
That's fine
like
because
Tacitus and Flavius.
That's fine because I think the early disciples had hallucinations where they saw Jesus.
What makes you believe
That's
in
fine for my
hallucinations?
worldview.
Well, why would you
Because
settle
in
on
that,
the fact that hallucinations? I mean, isn't
well,
that such a
mostly just
stretch
like Paul.
versus just? I feel like that's a stretch. I'm sorry to
No,
interrupt.
no. I know a naturalistic explanation is far less of a stretch than a supernatural explanation. Paul tells us that his only experience about Jesus was in visions, and so I have no other reason to think that Paul had hallucinations.
Well, actually, God spoke to Paul from. It wasn't necessarily a vision. It was actually like a encounter, like a physical encounter with God. I mean, not that he can touch him, but that it was like happening
you know,
at the time.
I don't think Acts is actually true about what happened to Paul. I think all Paul tells us about his own experience was that he had a revelation of Jesus and that God revealed Jesus within him, is all he says.
Well, he says that God pretty much. I'm not. I need to go back to it, but I'm not sure it's through a vision. It happened on the road to Damascus, and it's like coming out of the sky, and he speaks to him directly.
The road to Damascus story is only found in the Acts of the Apostles, and most scholars today are convinced that the Acts of the Apostles is more fiction than it is actual history, especially when it disagrees with Paul on his own testimony.
But let's go back to how you think that the apostles were having hallucinations at the time. So you think they died? Let me get this clear. So you think they died believing that they saw Jesus risen from the dead, but they were having hallucinations? I mean, how do you explain that all 12 of them were having hallucinations? And I mean, we're willing to defend what they claim to believe.
All it requires is one of the apostles has a grief-stricken bereavement hallucination about their dead rabbi, and him conveying this to his fellow apostles. All they have to do is engage in actions that can actually spur on hallucinations, like fasting, repetitious praying, and chanting. These things are known to be triggers for hallucinatory episodes. So it's not a huge stretch. It's quite common, actually, especially in the ancient world, where hallucinations were not frowned upon.
I think for me, I think that's just such a stretch to say that over 500 people over a period of 40 days were just all having a hallucination about the risen God.
But
that's
you think that's a stretch, but you think magic is a less of a stretch of an answer.
I don't think it's a stretch, because if God is an all-powerful being, he's able to do things outside of our time and space. So if something, like, let's just say, forget about our arguments, right? No, I can't, because it's superstition. It's like something that is not possible. I don't have. That only God can do.
If Jesus wasn't even the Messiah, then I have very little reason to think he even rose from the dead.
Well, I really believe that something superstitious really did happen, and that's why it's been written down by the non.
Yes, supernatural. Superstitious, yes. Supernatural, no.
Okay, so something supernatural happened, and it's because God really did rise from the dead, and we can't, like, our human physical minds right now, we can't really put it into words how that happens, because it is magic to us.
That's a cope. I don't care for that kind of answer. It's a cope. I only care about the data. The data does not support that rabbi, that corpse rising from the dead. It simply doesn't. I mean, the Bible
data does, because we have eyewitness testimonies, and we have eyewitness testimonies.
We don't. All we have is the Apostle Paul, who makes the claim that Jesus appeared to 500 witnesses.
Not just Paul. We have Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and over 500 people.
Again, you've yet to demonstrate to me that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are actually eyewitness accounts. You don't even know who wrote them.
They are eyewitness accounts.
You don't even know who wrote them. How can you know that they're eyewitnesses?
Okay,
if you don't know who
we
wrote
don't have
them?
obviously we don't have the original writings, because they're made out of papyrus, and they were in shambles. They're in dust right now. So what they did have was they would pass down this tradition orally, like they did back then, and it's the same thing. If somebody saw something happen. Right, because that's what it has to happen. Like back then, they would go and pass the tradition down, like what would happen today, and they would say, "Hey, this."
Wait! I'm muting your mic because I have a question. Have you ever played the telephone game? You can unmute your mic now, right?
Yeah, of course. I know what argument you're about to pull through. Like, obviously, somebody needs to keep saying it and passing it down. And I guess what you're going to say is somebody changed the words or changed the claim that they had, the original person had.
Yeah,
And
do
that,
you know, like,
that happens. That can
do you
completely
know that?
happen.
Do you know that there were some Christians who lived in Babylon that thought
Mhm.
that Jesus lived 100 years before the historical Jesus actually lived? They thought
Wow,
Jesus lived during the time of Alexander. They thought that Jesus lived during the time of Alexander Jannaeus, and that he was stoned to death and then hung up on a spike. They thought this about about Jesus.
that's
Like,
interesting.
obviously, like the oral tradition is not really working for them because they got all these befuddled stories about Jesus. And the Gospels
There's
can't even
always
agree
gonna
on the
be-
story of Jesus. Like,
The Gospels completely agree with Jesus. We have apocrypha that we
No.
don't use as canon
So-
because they're not consistent
Okay,
with what really
was
happened.
no. So, according to the Gospels, Matthew and Luke, was Jesus born during the reign of King Herod the Great, or was he born during the census under Quirinius?
I believe he was born during King Herod.
Well, according to if you're reading Matthew, it says that Jesus was born before the death of King Herod the Great. However, if you read the Gospel of Luke, it says that he was born during the census of Quirinius, which took place a decade after Herod the Great had already died.
And where's that?
Luke chapter 2, verse 1.
So what is it? What's the argument that he? Go ahead with your argument. Repeat it for me, please.
So, according to the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus was born when King Herod the Great was the king of Judea, which he died in 4 BCE. According to the Gospel of Luke, Jesus was born during the census under Quirinius, which took place in 6 CE, 10 years after Herod the Great had already died.
But wasn't Jesus? Jesus was based. Well, I guess it's 0 or 2, and then he lived to 33 AD.
Not according to the Gospels of Matthew and Luke.
So you're saying that King Herod was dead before Jesus was even born?
According to Luke. Not according to Matthew. According to Matthew, Jesus was born before he died.
So what are you saying, that there's an inconsistency?
Yeah, there's a chronological and there's a historical inconsistency here
So
between
you're
the two
saying
Gospels.
because of this, so you're saying this inconsistency has basically not allowed you to believe that Jesus is God?
I certainly can't believe that.
So you don't believe the Gospels are legitimate eyewitness
myth.
accounts?
They're mythic. They read no differently than, for example, The Life of Isis and Osiris by Plutarch, which is a biographical story about the gods Isis and Osiris. They read no differently.
Well, so you're saying that millions of people, or I'm guessing thousands, and really millions of people are persecuted back then during before
Yeah,
Rome turned into a Christian government, that they were willing to die because of one lie that spread throughout the whole region?
Well, yeah, because they believed the lie.
Right. So you're saying people were willing to die to believe in the lie, like those hundreds of thousands
Yeah,
of
but
people?
they are not aware that it's a lie. And again, not a lie because lie would insinuate that the person who's perpetuating the quote-unquote lie
nobody would
knows that's
die-
not true.
But nobody would die knowing that they're lying about something.
Yeah, who
People
says
don't
anyone?
lie.
Who's lying? I never said anyone's lying.
So what I'm saying is the original people that really did believe that they saw Jesus, claimed to
Who?
be God, died, rise from the dead, which I said
Who?
were, well, first it was a woman. It was Mary and his mother, and you would not want to at that time.
Not according to Paul. Not according to Paul. Paul
Okay,
never
I'm not talking about Paul. I'm talking about
no. You made the claim that Mary Magdalene is the first person who saw the risen Jesus, right?
Yes, women.
Okay, according to that, not according to Paul. According to Paul, the first person to see the resurrected Jesus was Peter. No mention of Mary Magdalene whatsoever.
Really, I thought I believed that the women were the first one to see the empty tomb.
That is so the letters of Paul come first, and then the Gospels are written later. In Paul's own letters,
Oh,
he
okay,
said,
but I'm saying like from the gospel perspective, the gospel.
yeah, the
happens
Gospels
first,
are
not
the
Paul.
Gospels are no. Paul's letters were written first, in the 50s CE, about 20 years after Jesus' death. The first gospel to be written was Mark, and that was written after 70 CE, 40 years after Jesus' death. Paul's writings come first, and all Paul says is that Peter was the first person to see Jesus resurrected from the dead, and that's in 1 Corinthians 15. The story of Mary Magdalene and stuff, that's a later tradition.
Okay, but I guess you're seeing it from the only getting it through the earliest writings which you can go by. But obviously, as a Christian, I'm going chronologically, and I'm saying that chronologically, as a Christian, what happens is that Mary Magdalene sees the empty tomb and is the first one to see the resurrected Jesus.
So Paul was wrong.
And that's what the early
Peter wasn't the
church.
first.
Well, what I'm saying is the early church has agreed to that. That's what
No.
the tradition is.
Paul doesn't agree to that.
No. Like the Gospels, that's what the Gospels say.
Paul didn't have access to the Gospels. The Gospels hadn't
Well,
been
that's what
written
I'm
yet.
saying. Like Paul doesn't have to agree with that. It's what happened before him, regardless.
Well, no, you don't know that. Again, that's just a later myth about Jesus.
No, but you have to come. No, you have to step into my shoes, though. Like you have to.
No, I don't. You have to demonstrate to me that you should give me a reason why I should step into your shoes. I don't
Okay,
accept
so-
I have zero reasons to accept the Gospels as being eyewitness historical events.
That's fine. That's fine. I mean, that's fine. You want to see it that way, that's cool. But as a Christian, what I'm trying to tell you is, the main point I'm trying to make is that if you wanted to bet a religion at that time period when basically everybody was getting persecuted, especially women who had no rights, you would not want to bet a new religion on women.
Well,
during that
no,
time.
I know you're using the criterion of embarrassment thing, but no, if you're concocting a story about Jesus and you
Right.
need someone to discover the empty tomb, you would make women the ones who would discover the empty tomb, because women are the one who go and anoint the bodies. Men don't do that. If the author would have had the men go and check the tomb, that would have seemed odd. So of course you would write it as a woman seeing the empty tomb.
No, is the thing is first of all, they weren't going to the tomb to anoint the body. The anointment had
That's what-
already happened. There was male figures there too.
No, the Gospels say that they were going to go anoint the bodies.
Okay, so in the in the tomb, the women see the empty tomb first, and so if they wanted to push this agenda on this fake religion, they would not want to believe women at that time to be.
It would
To
be,
be,
unre-
like, to
it would be unrealistic to have men discover the empty tomb.
No, it would be unrealistic to bet on
Mark-
the women to trust as their
Mark's,
as
yeah, which is why
to
in the
trust in
story,
their belief.
which is why in the story, after the women come and testify, the men go and check it out. That's what bolsters the story, not the women saying it, but the fact that men went and checked it out afterwards.
And that's the power in it, because if you wanted to make everybody believe that this was real, they would want it to be the men. They wouldn't want
which
it
is
to be the women.
which it was the men, because after Mary went and go and told the men, they told them that they were crazy,
just
and they went. They,
Yeah, you just
and they,
but you just
No.
agreed with me.
No, listen, you're not understanding. If I was a writer in the first century, and I
You
wanted
would
the story,
not want to have a woman
No, it
be the first
yes.
person to.
It wouldn't make sense to have a man go and check out the tomb. It wouldn't make sense. It would tip
No,
my
the
audience
woman
off.
checked the tomb first.
Yeah, exactly, because you wouldn't make sense for a man to go and check out the tomb. So if I was concocting a story, I would have a woman go and check out the tomb.
Okay, so in the story, the woman checks out the tomb, and so how the story goes is that the Peter goes and checks, and another person, but Peter makes it first, and he sees that Jesus is gone, and then he goes to the disciples and he goes and tells them, and Thomas doesn't believe. Jesus appears to them.
Yeah,
he lets him touch his hand.
Yeah, none of that happened.
Are you saying that all of them? Okay, so how can you not believe that happened?
Yeah, the Gospel of John is like the most mythical of all the four Gospels. It's the one that makes up the most stuff about Jesus. It's written so much later than the rest of the Gospels, and doesn't comport with the rest of the Gospels at all. We have no reason to believe that anything in the Gospels is real or actually attributed to the historical Jesus. There are even hints in the text that tell us that this, one, not written by a Jewish person, two, that these are things that were not said by Jesus.
But even like the writings outside of the Bible, because obviously you have a problem with the Bible itself. Even the writings of Tacitus or Flavius, like you don't think those are legitimate sources?
I think those are legitimate, but all they tell us is that Jesus of Nazareth was crucified and that people worshipped him later as a god, and that's it.
Well, they also say that there was superstition around what Jesus did.
Yeah,
like that he
superstition.
was almost.
Yeah,
And superstition is a very strong indicator that something out of this world happened.
No, superstition.
What did you
Superstition is a word you use to like sort of downplay a belief as being like no, this is a silly superstition of these people. It's not a positive term in the Latin.
Right. It can be negative. He's biased. Obviously, he wasn't a believer.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
I don't disagree that there were superstitions surrounding like Jesus' death. I don't have any disagreement with that. It wasn't supernatural. It was just superstitious.
Well, superstitious means a belief in the power of unseen or supernatural forces, irrational forces.
Yeah, irrational. Yeah, I agree. It is irrational.
So obviously, if it's an irrational force, it has to be out of this world. It has to be some sort of higher power.
No.
Because if we could go back in time,
because believing that a black cat crossing the street is also superstitious. Does that mean that there's actually some supernatural force behind that makes a black cat crossing the street actually unlucky?
No, but somebody dying and coming from the dead is superstitious.
No,
be seen as superstitious.
I agree. It's superstitious, but superstitious is not a positive word. If you're saying something superstitious, you're basically saying it ain't true.
That doesn't make it.
I think
that's not an indicator that it's not true. It's just an indicator that something supernatural happened.
No, it's not. Superstitious.
Something odd happened.
No.
Something out of this world happened.
Superstitious is just a silly belief about a supernatural occurrence that people believe. It doesn't indicate that a supernatural occurrence actually occurred.
Okay, if you want to search up the definition of superstition, it is literally a belief in the power of unseen, supernatural, or irrational forces to influence events.
Having or showing a belief in supernatural influences, especially as leading to good or bad luck. So that's just a belief. All that's telling me is that the author told me that the author says that there was people who had a belief about a supernatural thing.
Yes,
but that doesn't mean that it's true.
It's excessively credulous. It's an excessive credulous belief.
Credulous?
Well, that's what the definition says.
No,
it's in the dictionary. It's in the Oxford Dictionary.
You do know that dictionaries are not prescriptive; they're descriptive, right?
One second. AJ, what's the since we're wanting to play the definition game, what's the definition of can? CAN.
I'm not sure. What is it?
You don't know what the definition of can is?
I mean, I don't think perfectly. I'm not like a teacher or something.
Dalton, can you look up can?
Sure.
I think I got it.
Be able to?
And then?
Be permitted to.
And?
Used to ask someone to do something.
What about,
there's also like, a can, like a cylindrical metal container.
There you go. Yep. So my point in that is both of y'all could be right about the definition. Definitions have more than one, can have more than one meaning.
Sure, I mean, that's fine, but I mean, obviously in the context, he's talking about Jesus doing some weird stuff and the followers believing him and ritual stuff.
Yeah,
that's
all this tells me is that the individual who's reporting on this is reporting on people who had supernatural beliefs. It doesn't mean that their supernatural beliefs are true.
Okay, that's fine, but if it's supernatural belief, that it doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. It's still somebody indicating like, hey, they believe that something supernatural happened, and I really bet on that as a Christian. I believe like, whoa, okay,
of course you do, because you buy into again, AJ, we don't have eyewitness testimonies. You've yet to give me a good reason to consider the Gospels to be eyewitness testimonies.
It's not just if we discovered a first, 33, 35 AD or the 50 AD, manuscripts, and we could date it to the same time he was alive, or just years
I
out.
wouldn't
That'd be
I wouldn't
great.
even I wouldn't even
Is
care if
that
it was I wouldn't even care if it was
yeah,
dated to 33 AD. That still wouldn't
yeah.
tell me that's an eyewitness testimony because again, we don't know who wrote it.
Okay, so what would it matter if we don't know who wrote it? Because I mean, do you believe that
Because then
George
it's just a
Washington
random.
existed?
Yeah, because we have
Do you
actual
believe?
record. Because we have actual records from actual known authors about George Washington, papers from him, signed by him. Did the author of Matthew sign his work? No.
We also have like DNA record and also like bones off him. So
Right. Yeah. Obviously, somebody like Jesus, we don't have that because it's so far
Because
long
yeah,
ago.
yeah. I mean, if a
Which would
corp,
be
if a
great.
de- if a crucified man was thrown into a common grave with a bunch of other crucifixion victims, and he decomposed, yeah, we wouldn't be able to. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference between his bones and the rest of the bones.
It's just, I guess that's where I have to bet my. I mean, besides the, I mean, I believe in the the canon scriptures, and I believe in the whole, and all the people that were willing to die for what they believed was true, what they believed they saw.
Muslims are willing to die for beliefs that aren't true.
Yeah, but the Quran is, I mean, I don't know if you've actually read it, but it's
It's
pretty,
it's
it's
just
pretty
as
radical.
yeah, it's just as silly and ridiculous as the Bible.
But Jesus, in his recorded lifetime, he really is he really does match up with the character that was pretty much the long progression story of the Old Testament going into the New
No,
Testament.
Jesus didn't fulfill a single messianic prophecy.
Well, there's as Isaiah chapter 53. Have you seen that?
Yes, Isaiah 53 is not about Jesus, and it's not even about the Messiah in its original context.
So what is it about?
It's about the suffering of the nation of the righteous remnant of Israel during the Babylonian exile.
So
So
I guess I
here's
should
a
have.
here's a question. If I say I want you, this is a grammar question, and then you'll see how the grammar question relates to Isaiah 53. I have two sentences. If one sentence is I went to the store, versus I am going to go to the store. What is the difference in the grammar between these two sentences?
I'm sorry, I was reading something. Can you repeat that for me, please?
What
before you do,
what
one of the it looks like one of your friends, Rav Capstone, is in the request. Just FYI.
oh, Rev? All right. I was like, what is the difference in the grammar between the phrase "I went to the store" versus "I'm going to go to the store"? What's the difference in the two
It's
grammars?
past tense, correct?
Yeah, and when we read Isaiah 53, it says he was despised and rejected. Um, so what is that? What should that lead me to think about the person that the prophet is writing about?
Do you think I could read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I'm just gonna read the passage over to myself. I'm learning, by the way. This is like my second time I ever go on one of these.
Yeah,
But this is.
don't read it to yourself. Read it out loud because I can't have a bunch of empty space.
Oh yeah, I got you. It's gonna say, "Yes, it was the Lord's will to crush him and cause him to suffer. And though the Lord makes his life an offering for sin, he will see his offspring and prolong his days."
Why'd you start at the end?
Oh, I don't know. It just seems like it fits like what we're talking about.
Could you start at verse 1 maybe?
Okay. Who has believed our message, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? He grew up before him like a tender shoot and like a root out of dry ground. He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain. Like one of those whom people hide their faces, he was despised and we held him in low esteem. So obviously, as a Christian, it makes me think of Jesus because it's exactly what happened to him.
What tense is being used here? Past tense or future tense?
Past tense.
Okay, if someone's writing about something in the past tense, what should I think about when the suffering took place relative to the prophecy, the writing?
You can still make prophecy even if it's in past tense.
No, you can't. That's not how grammar works. Rabbi, in Hebrew, do you use past tense to talk about future events?
No, you use future tense or present future progressive or something along those lines. But yeah, you don't use past tense.
Right.
Also,
Past tense
if
is
you
used for history, right?
exactly. And I was just going to say, like, if you go to Isaiah 49, you get a little bit more context of exactly what this is talking about, and even more so if you, I don't know, yeah, Isaiah 49. What am I trying to say? Yeah. Anyway, I lost my train of thought, but
The
Isaiah
fact
49.
that the author, you mean the fact that the author continuously throughout Second Isaiah tells us exactly who the servant is.
Exactly.
Yeah, and repeatedly, the author of this section of Isaiah continuously tells us that the servant is Israel, and it says that the suffering is in the past tense. It's the only thing that's in the future is the exaltation, right?
I was also going to say that it's 600 years in the past. Like you'd have to explain why this is happening. In response. Well, it is in response to the Babylonian exile, and so you'd have to be able to explain why it's discussing something so distant in the future in the past tense.
So
Because that's
AJ,
just how prophecy can. I still believe that prophecy can be written even after the fact it happens later, even if it's written past tense.
why would we ignore the rules of grammar in only this instance and no other? It's because you're
I don't know.
trying to
It just
force
seems
the
like-
text to be about Jesus when it's obviously not. Like if I
Okay, well,
could you use
that's
the
fine.
same words
I mean-
to just could you use these same words to describe the Jewish people?
I'm not sure.
I mean, have you ever heard of, like, for example, like the Holocaust? He was
Yeah, I've heard of the Holocaust.
he was despised and rejected by others, a man of suffering and acquainted with infirmity. And as one from whom others hide their faces, he was despised and we held him of no account. That sounds a lot like the way you would describe like the suffering of the Jewish people. Would it not be?
Damn.
I mean, obviously, if you can you can give it to anyone, really.
Well,
if
what
you're
about
gonna
the
do it
fact?
that way.
What about in Isaiah 53? It uses the plural word "them" to refer to the suffering servant. Jesus is only one person. You cannot refer to him as a them or they.
Yeah, I don't have enough knowledge on this to even keep going. I just don't. I haven't even read the full Old Testament, to be quite honest with you.
I would suggest before you talk about Isaiah 53 to anyone, you read Isaiah chapters 40 through 52.
Okay.
And
feel like
frankly,
you could-
Jeremiah 29 and 39, just to understand what the Babylonian exile was, what the Israelites believed the cause of the Babylonian exile was, and what the experience was in Babylonian exile.
I feel like the two books that they mentioned, I feel like we should read the full thing just so you can get the full.
What, Calcifer? Your microphone's kind of...
What I said was the two books that they mentioned. I think you should read the full thing just to get the full context of the full book.
Oh, I mean, it would be great if they could read the entirety of the Hebrew Bible. But when it comes to Isaiah 53, technically Isaiah is actually 3 books wrapped into one. The first book being Proto-Isaiah, which was written by the historical Isaiah, which is chapters 1 through 39. And then there's Deutero-Isaiah, which is Isaiah chapter 40 through 56, which was written during the time of the return from the Babylonian exile, during the time of Cyrus the Great. And then the third Trito-Isaiah, which is Isaiah 57 through 66, which was written at even a later time during the building of the Second Temple.
Well, he's young. He got time. He can read all of it.
Yeah, I appreciate the insight. I'll have to read on it more, but I'll let other people have a shot at this. But I appreciate you guys for coming in here and letting me talk.
Can I just say
Absolutely,
one
AJ.
really quick thing before you go?
Yeah.
I think it's really important to understand that these texts were written by and for a very specific group of people. and that by reading it through the lens that you are reading it actually undermines the experience of the people who experience the tragedy and pain and suffering that these texts are writing about. And I think it's important to consider that when you're reading something in a way that is ultimately supersessionist and frankly problematic. And I don't think that you are a problematic person. You seem like a kind, well-intentioned person, but I think it's important to remember that these texts did not appear in a vacuum, and they certainly didn't appear with the anticipation of Jesus.
All right, yeah, I'll keep that in mind.
Thanks.
All right, have a good day, AJ.
Yeah, you too, guys. Bye-bye.
All right, let's see who else is in my box, if anyone. Doesn't look like I have any other guests. So everyone make sure to tap that screen. Share the live with those you love, with those you hate, with your friends, with your enemies. Get the word out so we can have some interesting conversations. Rabbi, I was flipping through my TikTok today when I came across... Oh, I guess I'll tell you in a second because I got a guest. We got Re3Con59 or R3... say what, Counselor?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Recon, I have 3 questions to ask you. Question number 1, are you at least 18 years old or older?
Of course I am.
Question number 2, do you believe Jesus was the Messiah?
Of course he was.
Alright, question number 3, what are your pronouns?
That's a very weird question to ask anybody.
Nah, it's not. It's pretty normal, especially on this channel. So what are your pronouns?
That's,
Do you know what pronouns
a very
are?
Weird question. I'm a son of God. That's what I am.
That's not a pronoun. So, like, you reckon... Okay, I guess I'll ask you question number 4 then. Do you believe that God has a dick?
That's another very, very weird question.
Yeah,
Especially
no,
when
just
you're talking
answer
about
it.
scripture.
Yes or no. Does God have a
You're
dick?
talking about scripture.
Does God have a dick?
I don't know what sort of weird question is that.
Okay, yeah, it's a yes or no. It doesn't
The
matter how
whole
weird the
point
question
is-
is. Does
the whole-
God...
the
No. No. You're going to answer this question, or I'll drop you and move on. You won't get a chance to talk about whatever the hell you want to talk about. Does God have a penis? Yes or no?
I do also want to point out that in the Bible it says that we are made in the image of Him. So, yes or no?
Well, that's a whole nother conversation altogether. But Recon, I need you to unmute yourself and tell me, does Yahweh have a penis? Yes or no? I don't care if you think it's a weird question. I just need you to answer it. So, yes or no? If you cannot figure out the mic system, then this is going to be a very hard conversation to have.
Yeah, well, it just got turned off, didn't it?
Yeah, I turned it off.
When you-
So, yes or no, does Yahweh have a penis?
Yahweh have a penis.
Yeah.
Elyon is who I'm.
Does
talking
Elyon
about.
have a penis?
El
Does El have a penis?
Elyon is the son of the father.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh
go
my
back to
God,
Genesis.
Recon.
Go back to Genesis.
Recon.
We are
Recon.
made
I don't
in
no.
the image of
I don't give a
God,
shit.
right?
I don't
I
give
mean,
a shit. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. I really don't. Listen, you obviously don't know how to answer questions like an adult, so we're gonna move on to someone who is capable of answering questions. All right. In Sony 34. In Sony, question number 1: are you at least 18 years old or older?
Yes.
Question number 2: do you believe Jesus is the Messiah?
Yes.
Question number 3: what are your pronouns?
He am.
Question
Thank you
number
so much.
4: would you be interested in buying some Soul's extended warranty?
What?
Would you like to buy warranty for your soul? It includes rapture insurance.
I guess I already have insurance to answer that question, I guess.
For the soul?
Yeah.
All right then. So I'm getting very elevated. I'm gonna hop off. Thank you for having me.
Okay, Calcifer, you have a good day.
That makes
All right.
sense.
In Stony, I don't believe Jesus is the Messiah. Why should I?
Okay, sorry. It's your live, so I don't want to derail that question. But can I talk about something you were just talking about with someone, or do you want me to just kind of go into our own thing?
I can entertain this for just a second.
Okay, I guess one reason I would believe why we should believe in Christ is because of Isaiah 53. But I just wanted to point out with Isaiah 53 because I heard you say that that's like past tense, but
Yeah,
and this is and I think you have someone on here that's like supposed to be an expert on this. Is that true?
I would say we're both pretty good. So
Okay.
Rav Kavod is a rabbi, and I've also
Yeah.
spent a number of years studying the Hebrew Bible.
I So my biggest issue with that, and obviously we could talk about a lot of things, but I think just like logistically, that's just not accurate in the sense of like even non-believers, like scholars, will say that passage. Like I think David Kimchi's one that talks about how it's considered like perfect prophetic, which is just something commonly
That's
used
that's
in the Hebrew
that's
language.
that belief is only used among Christian apologists. No serious scholar in the field of biblical criticism considers prophetic perfect an actual like legitimate way of reading the Bible.
Well, I just gave you one though. There's a few. Isaac
I
Ben Yadia, I think. Rabnik was also another one. It's just the way they talked about it. It was a grammatical
Yeah,
device.
this is an apologetic cope with the fact that the text doesn't just simply doesn't say what they wanted to say. I have no good reason to treat the Hebrew Bible's grammar any differently than I would any other ancient text, and I'm not going to.
Well,
Let it
that's
speak for
not
itself.
okay, but that I don't think that's fair though, because you're reading it
Actually,
in
it's
English and
quite
like
the opposite. Actually, it's
Do you want us to read
you're
I'm
it in
being
Hebrew?
yeah.
Would that be
no, I'm
helpful for
saying
you?
the Hebrew grammatical use is the perfect prophetic, which was a common way to
That's
speak back
not
then.
that's no,
That's
it's
not
not.
true.
That's just a apologetic assumption that was created in order for Jesus to be read back into the book of Isaiah. Yeah.
Do you know how you know it's eisegesis? Is because you see Jesus everywhere.
Well, but I'm telling you, there's a lot of sources that I just named you some that you can look up. Their
Yeah,
source, and
this is
like, I mean, it's not what I'm saying is like this isn't a point of contention. Like, this isn't something
it
that
is.
believers and non-believers necessarily argue about grammatically. Now, you might argue that it's just,
It
it
is
wasn't
though.
fulfilled or whatever, but
The consensus of scholarship does not consider prophetic perfect to be a legitimate way of reading the Bible. This was created by apologists to cope with the fact that the text doesn't say what they wanted to say, and perhaps I don't know who these people are you're naming, but perhaps it's like seeped into some scholarly area, some like rigid scholarly area. But the majority of scholars do not consider the prophetic perfect to be considered a actual like reliable way of reading the text. Everyone else in the field reads the perfect tense as if it's completed and the imperfect tense as if it's not completed. We treat the Hebrew Bible fairly. In other words, we treat it on the same level we would any other text from the ancient Near East.
yeah, I mean, I would just question, like, you might have read, a scholar saying that, but to say that all scholars that aren't believers basically agree on that, it's just not true. Like, I mean, you can Google it,
I
you can
could
put in
name
Chat GPT.
some of the greatest scholars: Dan McClellan, Francesca Stavrakopoulos, John J. Collins, Joel Baden. These people would agree with me on, and Tovia Singer, Rabbi Michael Skobach. These are all people who would agree that such a thing is just again just cope.
And none of us
So
would need to. Here's the issue: none of us need to appeal to any authority because simply comparing the grammar between Isaiah 53 and literally any other prophetic past tense, it is clearly in the past tense. There's just no need to even you just read the text. Let the data speak for itself.
yeah, I mean,
Well, once again,
It's a very strange thing to do.
sure enough. It's kind of weird that the author would use future tense to say, like, for example, "My servant shall prosper," and then he goes and describes the suffering in the past tense. Why not be consistent with his tenses? This is one prophecy.
I mean, it is mostly consistent, but I think that
It's
it's just
not though.
you got to understand how a prophet would talk. But
I
um,
I think I understand how prophets talk. They would say, this shall happen and that shall happen and blah, 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 blah. They would never say, a prophet would never prophesy saying that he would go to the store by saying, I went to the store. That's
This
just
has
not
will
how
this
Hebrew
has
grammar
will
works.
this has will happened.
This has will happened. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make any sense to say that this makes sense because Isaiah, the servant song of Isaiah, switches between the past and future tense depending on what it's talking about. The exaltation, it uses future tense. The despisement and suffering refers in the past tense. This is just cope, and if this is the best you guys to make up an apologetic about prophetic future, it's not going to get you anywhere on this channel.
Right.
well, and I would just say this to all of that when it comes to like, this is just a cope or whatever. Like, I think we all would agree that there's certain, words and phrases and things that we say today that had no meaning back then, and ways to talk back then that are not a way we talk now, like in other ways.
Phrases
Like it's
is
just a
not the same
different
as the
in
use. Phraseology and idioms is not the same thing as the usage of the past and future tense. They used
it
it
is
the
when it's
same way we used
prophecy.
it. No, you have no good reason to think that.
Okay, well
Give me
then let
a
me ask you this.
give me a good reason why I should believe that the prophetic tense is actually a legitimate way of reading the Bible.
Be, because believers and non-believer scholars, both of them, there's a lot of them that says that was how prophets talk. Like it's not, once again, like to say it's just cope would be to say, okay, well then there's, no non-Christians that say that, but that's just not true. I mean, I can give you
Can you
five
can
right
you
now.
can you give us a comparative text, something that demonstrates the same way that that you're saying is an example of another future sort of thing that is written in the past but is talking about a future event?
Like, are you asking me, is there another Bible verse that does that?
Yeah.
Can you, I would
I'm sure. I Go
I would
ahead.
also be interested if you could point me to a non-theist that affirms the prophetic future, the prophetic perfect.
Okay, so now you're saying you can't be a theist and believe that?
Yeah, because of course, like if you're gonna point to David Kimchi, of course he's gonna like. There are some Jews
Gosh.
who also do the same thing that Christians do, and that they have to cope with the fact. And I'm sure Rav Kavod can like back me up on this. There are some iterations of Judaism where they have a certain view of the Bible that some passages are obviously written in the past tense, but because they want to apply it to a different situation, they have to implement the same exact apologetics. Is this correct, Rav?
I would say so.
Okay, but this is something that I've noted, and I don't mean this isn't necessarily an insult. Is more just what I see on these like live panels. Is it's always like I got these sources that actually count, and then whenever I give a source, it's like, and you have sources that are biased. Yeah, they don't believe Jesus was the Messiah, but they're still biased. It's like,
my sources aren't driven by dogma. I don't care about dogma. I care about what do the data support. If I was to just read the Hebrew Bible plainly for what it says, without inserting things into text that aren't there, would I come to this conclusion? And the answer is no, I wouldn't.
yeah, I mean, you could say that, but I would also say if you just read it unbiasedly and understand who Isaiah was, like, do you believe Isaiah was a prophet?
I don't think Isaiah wrote Isaiah 53. The Deutero Isaiah, being Isaiah's chapter 40 to 56, was written by a different prophet at a later time in Israel's history during the return of the Jewish people from the Babylonian exile.
So,
Should
do
have
you
picked this
think
up.
that anywhere in the book of Isaiah, Isaiah wrote it and that Isaiah was a prophet?
Yeah.
Isaiah
So
chapter 1 through 39.
And
yeah,
do you
and
think he
also
made prophecies?
Here,
here
Rabbi.
just really quickly, I think it's important to understand that the prophetic texts are almost always in order to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comforted. And so when the prophet is speaking directly to the people, it is often the prophecy is often an immediate prophecy. Like it's not something hundreds of years in the future. It is speaking directly to the moment at hand. And so like to have this sort of mentality of something happening distant in the distant future is just anathema to the way that the prophecy works. And specifically with Isaiah, you're talking about a message that is coming out of this pre-Babylonian, like post-Assyrian split of Judea and Israel, and pre-Neo-Babylonian Empire. So, in reality, it's not. I wish I could explain it to you a little bit better than that, but it's not speaking about something in the distant future. It's speaking directly to their priorities at that time.
I think what's actually really important also to point out about Isaiah 53 and here in Stony, I want you to turn to Psalm chapter 2 verse 4 real quick.
Okay, Psalm chapter 2, what?
Verse 4. And while you're doing that, I'm going to ask Rav Kavod a question about Hebrew. Rav Kavod, I have a passage here from the Psalms. It says in Hebrew, Yoshev b'shemayim yitzkach, Adonai yulag lamo.
Yoshev Hashemayim, so he dwells or sits in the heavens. And what was the second? I missed the third word.
Yitzkach, he laughs. He sits in heaven, he laughs. Oh, in this case, it's he laughs. Yitzkach.
Oh, he laughs. Okay, got it.
Yoshev b'shemayim yitzkach, Adonai yilag lamo.
Le'amo, like he births his nation or something like that.
Oh no, Adonai yilag lamo. He mocks them.
Got it. It's hard to see it without the.
Sorry about that. But you,
okay.
Rabbi, you would confirm me that lamo, being lamed mem vav, means them or they, right? In this text.
Lamed mem vav is to them. Yeah.
Yeah.
To them.
And in Stony, does your text confirm that this is what it says? That it says he mocks them?
Can I read it? He who, you said 2:4, right?
Yes.
He who sits in the heavens laughs, the Lord scoffs at them, then he will speak to them in his anger. Sorry, I went to 5, my bad.
Yeah. So it says them, correct? Your Bible translates the word lamo there as them, right?
Yes.
Now, here's the thing.
Mocks him, lemo, to him.
Well, lo would be him.
I see what you're saying. Mm-hmm. Yep, got it.
Yeah, lo is him, and lamo. Lahem can mean them, but lamo is like an archaic Hebrew word that no one uses anymore. It means to them.
Yep.
Now, and Stoney's translation does this correctly in Psalm 2:4. But I bet if we go to Isaiah chapter 53, verse 8, your Bible translation won't be as honest about what the word lamo means. What does Isaiah 53, verse 8 say in your Bible in Stoney?
My bad. Let me pull it back up. You said verse 8 of 53.
Yeah. Let's see if it's consistent about the way it translates lamo.
I'll have to pull it up on my computer, probably. Isaiah, is it just went away? 53:8 NASB. We'll go NASB. By oppression and judgment, he was taken away, and his first generation who considered that he was cut off from the land of the living for the wrongdoing of my people, and to whom the blow was due.
So it doesn't even have a pronoun there. Interesting.
Doesn't have one
and
in this JPS either.
Oh, it's very interesting that they avoid it.
Yeah.
So in other translations like the Rosenberg translation, it actually does use the proper pronoun. But if you use the King James Version Bible, it'll say, for the transgressions of my people, he was afflicted. As if it's about Jesus. But the Hebrew is, mi pesha ami nega lamo, which is, because of the transgression of my people, they were afflicted. It refers to the suffering servant of Isaiah 53 as a they, in the plural. So in Stoney, is Jesus a singular individual or a multiplicity of people?
I think Lamo, I just would probably disagree on Lamo's interpretation of what you're saying it should be.
So
Lamo is a
Psalm 2:4
word.
was translated?
It's not a person. It's not a person.
Lamo means them or they. Like you just showed us that in Psalm 2:4, your Bible translated it correctly, saying that the Lord mocks them. But for some reason, all of a sudden, Isaiah 53, Lamo no longer means them and they.
Okay, so what's your point? What's your point exactly? Just to kind of
Is that
understand.
Isaiah 53 is about a multiplicity of people, not a singular individual. Else it would not refer to them in the plural.
Um, well, I would say it could probably. I think it just like interpretly can mean them or a collective, as far as
So
like Isaiah
yeah,
44:15.
but not a single person. It's not a singular individual that this text is talking about.
Okay, so what word are you talking about in 53 specifically? You're talking about just Lamo in verse 8?
Yeah, it means them or they. Another example, we already showed you in Psalm 2:4 that Lamo in your own Bible gets correctly translated as them. Another instance in which your Bible would correctly translate it as them is in Psalm 99 verse 7 where it says, He spoke to them in the pillar of a cloud. They kept his testimonies. V'koch natan lamo. And his statutes he gave to them. Your Bible would translate Lamo correctly here, but for some reason, Christian Bibles will not translate Lamo correctly in Isaiah 53. Why is that?
So why do you point it out in just verse 8 is my confusion too.
Because
It's
this verse tells us...
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Rob, yeah.
It's demonstrating that it's not about a singular individual named Jesus. It's demonstrating that it's about the people, the collective people Israel, which actually was interesting because you said that, and I think you're probably using an interlinear translation right now, which is great because it's showing you that it's not about Jesus. It's actually about Israel.
The reason why I'm confused with the argument here is just because when it says like in verse 5, but he was pierced for our offenses, that's not Lamo. Like it's just a regular
Yeah,
like he.
so in Hebrew...
That's why I'm confused.
So the thing is, in Hebrew, a collection of people can metaphorically be referred to as a he, but a singular individual, is never referred to as a them. We can show you evidence of this in the Hebrew Bible.
Oh, so all of a sudden now we got to grammatically understand how the Hebrews talked, which is how I started with this.
Hold on. Wait a second. Let's just be very clear. Who is a pronoun? Who meaning he. I know that sounds really weird, and then he also means she in Hebrew, but okay, who is a pronoun? The question is what is that pronoun describing? Like who is the he, who is the who in this sentence? And so then you have to go back to the word who is he, like who is this he character that's being described? And it is clear that it is the servant, right?
It's a third person singular pronoun.
No, here, Anstoni, I want you to turn to the book of Exodus, and I'll show you that the Hebrew Bible often can refer to a collection of people as a he. You're familiar with the Exodus story, so go to Exodus chapter 4.
Okay, like the whole chapter or what verse?
Just verses 21 through 22.
Okay.
I have to hop off soon.
Okay, well, thank you for coming up, Rob. Yeah, 21 through 22. Exodus chapter 4, verses 21 through 22.
Okay.
What does it say?
21 through 22 says, And the Lord said to Moses, When you go back to Egypt, see that you perform before the Pharaoh all the wonders which I have put in your power. But I will harden his heart so that he will not let the people go. Then you shall say to the Pharaoh, This is what the Lord says, Israel is my son, my firstborn.
Keep going. Oh, no, one more verse.
Sorry.
Verse 23.
Sorry. Okay, verse 23. So I said to you, Let my son go, so that he may serve me, but you have refused to let him go. Behold, I am going to kill your son, your firstborn.
So who is the he and the him in this verse?
In this verse, so I said to you, Let my son go, so that he may serve me. But you have refused to let him go. Behold, I am going to kill your son. Yeah, he's talking about Israel.
So Israel as a collective can be referred to as a he and a him, correct?
Yeah.
So what
Correct.
we have in Isaiah 53 is the prophet describing the suffering of an individual in the past tense. It describes this person as a he, but also as they in the plural. And it also says that this is the servant, which throughout the book of Isaiah, second Isaiah, the servant is repeatedly referred to as being Israel. So if I were just to read this text plainly for what it says, without inserting anything into the text, what conclusion should I come to? If I were a Jewish person living before the time of Jesus, what should I think that this passage is about?
Well, but you just whoa, time out, time out. And I think we would have both agree with what I'm about to say. You just tried to say, let me prove what the Hebrew is saying by showing you what it says in English because it doesn't use the same Hebrew word.
No, it does. In Hebrew,
Oh, he doesn't understand the suffix lishlacho. What is it?
I will send him.
Lishalcho.
Yeah, send
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. The O at the end of lishalcho is the same as who, and then also that's the to him, and then also that's the him there. A singular. It's if it was plural, it would be lishalchav.
Here, let's play a game here,
Lishalchu,
Antonio.
sorry.
Okay,
Let's
well,
pres-
let's
let
say I was gonna say I can grant you that if you want. I don't think that really changes
Here,
what we're
watch.
saying now.
Here, let's change the game here a little bit. Let's say that you and I
Okay.
and Stony are two Israelites who live in Israel about 200 years before the birth of Jesus. And you want to say to me that this passage is about the Messiah. How would you convince me of that?
Um, I think that's kind of just that's like a weird framing of like the narrative of the Old Testament. Like
No,
that's not
because there are
really like
there are
what's
there. No, there are several prophetic passages which are clearly about the Messiah. That if I were a Jewish person living before the time of Jesus, I could come to you and go, the text is very clear that this is about the Messiah. It mentions a descendant of King David, who is a king who shall rule. Like there are textual hints that would tell me that this passage is messianic in nature. Why would I believe that this passage is messianic in nature?
I mean, I would say probably like the easiest way, and I think this is probably basically what people understood also was through the ceremonial law, they saw that they needed a sacrifice for their sins. So I would say that's probably
Hey,
the easiest way to convince someone back then.
Rob, is there such a category as the ceremonial law in the Torah?
There's not.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, here we go
So-
with this. It's
so
a
the
technicality, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Well,
so
no,
what is that? Why should we think this is about the Messiah though? That doesn't answer the
you
question.
see, you didn't. But you just went to like a technicality, like logistical argument. You didn't even listen to what I said. I said that because they sacrificed Leviticus chapter 4. They knew that they had to sacrifice animals for the forgiveness of their sins. Call it ceremonial, call it a regular law, whatever.
namely not human. And by the way, it's funny that you cite Leviticus chapter 4 because it literally is it is the moment in which Mashiach is defined. It is the definition of Mashiach in Leviticus 4:3, which is Messiah. It's the first time the word is used in the entire text.
Okay,
Oh,
so
yeah.
you asked me how I would convince someone, so I'm telling you they understood that concept because that's how they
Okay. Sure.
understood sin.
Okay, but why would I think Isaiah 53 is about Messiah? My brother, my fellow Israelite. Why should I believe that this passage is about the Mashiach? Tell me.
Okay, so we know what God calls us to do is to get forgiveness of sins through a sacrifice. And when it
Or
says, but he was
or
pierced for our offenses, when he was pierced for
well,
our offenses.
my brother. Where does it say pierces? Because it says Becholal, which means he was wounded. I don't see the word dekaru, meaning he was pierced in the text.
When he was wounded for our offenses, like he was crushed for our wrongdoings.
But my brother, it also doesn't say he was wounded for our transgressions. It says because. The preposition is mem, not lamed.
That's the same thing.
No, because
meh.
Right, do you understand what people orthodoxly go ahead?
Do you agree that, for example, in the World War II, the Jewish people suffered because of the sins of Nazi Germany? That Nazi Germany was doing something very sinful in their prejudice, and as a result, they suffered because of the wrongdoing and the trespasses in Germany?
I think one thing that's extremely difficult
Wait,
for people to
what?
understand is that the same
Well,
people that
all right.
cause the sin are the same people that are redeeming the sin. I think that's part of the thing that people don't understand between 49 and 53 is that the people who are causing the sin are the same people that are going to rectify the sin. In other words, the people who committed the problem, who transgressed the law, are also going to be the people who redeem the law. And I think like if I were to ask you, as this pre-Israelite or this pre-Jesus conversation, I would ask you, who is this servant that the text is talking about? In other words,
Okay.
who is going to be the one that's going to be doing the redeeming?
Okay. So what
Yeah,
do you want? Do you want me to answer that or the analogy about Nazi Germany, or not the
sure.
analogy,
Actually,
but comparison?
the rabbi's question is very good. Like, if we were to read Isaiah, who does
Okay.
Isaiah explicitly tell us that the servant is?
Who does he tell us the servant is?
Yeah, where like for example, the servant is like it's not the Isaiah 52 verse 13, not the first time that the Eved Yahweh, that the servant of the Lord is mentioned, not the first time. There are several passages prior to this that the author mentions the servant of the Lord. Who, my brother, my fellow Israelite, who does Isaiah tell us is the servant?
Um, Man, like this is why I said it. This is why I said it was a weird framing of the question because they didn't understand who the servant was yet
No,
completely.
they did, because
Not
Isaiah
in this
told them.
passage.
Yes,
They
they do,
understood the
because
shadow of it, but not
no, no, no,
completely.
no. Isaiah told them explicitly who the servant was, like
Tell me
unambiguously.
where.
Yeah, sure. Here, let me pull up the passages right now. Let's see. Here, I'm going to ask you to turn to a few different verses. Could you point me to read for us out loud, in Sony, Isaiah 41 verses 8 through 9.
Okay. Uh, Oh, is this really okay? But you, Israel, my servant, Jacob, whom I have chosen, descendant of Abraham, my friend, you whom I have taken from the ends of the earth and called for its remotest parts and said to you, you are my servant, I have chosen you, you have not rejected you. Well, yeah, I mean,
All
I
right.
agree with that.
Could you read Isaiah 44 verses 1 through 2?
Yeah. Two. I guess I could be using my Bible now. I don't know why I'm doing this, but keep typing it. But now listen, Jacob, my servant, and Israel, whom I have chosen. This is what the Lord says. He who made you and formed you from the womb, who will help you? Do not fear, Jacob, my servant, and Joshua, whom I have chosen. Okay,
All right.
can we just stop right
Could
here?
you?
I feel like this
No,
is
no, no,
proving
no.
what I'm saying now.
We should keep. No, we should keep going. Isaiah 45 verse 4. Could you read that for us?
Well, hold on. Can I respond? Can I respond to this with this
You
verse since
can't.
we're here?
You can once we get done reading. I only have two more verses for you to read. So
All right, what'd you
Isaiah
say?
40,
45?
45 verse 4.
Okay.
This, by the way, like I hope, like personally, my intention is not to like make you feel horrible about this. My intention is only to demonstrate that this is a post hoc reading of the text. I think that many people
Well,
look back and find inspiration from this text. I think it speaks to the quality of the writing and the storytelling and the accessibility of the message. But I think it is, and I said this to the previous guest, it is so important to understand that this was written by and for a very specific group of people speaking to a very specific set of circumstances, and that any meaning derived after that is only circumstantial.
um, okay. Well, I disagree with that, but I'll just keep reading, because I was told to read. For the sake of Jacob, my servant, and Israel, my chosen one, I have also called you by your name. I have given you a title of honor, though you have not known me.
All right, Isaiah 48
Hold on,
verse
let me
20.
say again.
And the last one, Isaiah 48 verse 20.
48, verse 20. Okay, it says, go out from Babylon, flee from the Chaldeans, declare with the sound of
Chaldeans.
joyful shouting, proclaim this, send it out to the end of the earth. Say, the Lord has redeemed his servant Jacob.
So in Isaiah 41, 44, 45, and 48, I'm repeatedly being told by the author that the servant is Israel. So when I get to Isaiah 52, verse 13, it says, my servant shall be highly exalted. The natural reading is the servant is Israel, or at least the
Also,
righteous remnant of Israel.
49:6
Yeah, Ron.
is, and God has said, it is too little that you should be my servant, and that I raise up the tribes of Jacob and restore the survivors of Israel, meaning the survivors of the Babylonian exile. I will also make you a light unto the nations, that my salvation shall reach the ends of the earth.
Yeah, speaking to the prophet, yeah.
So like, so this is just my question, right? Like, let's just say, let's just say on the face value, you're saying that it's being read into this that it's talking about Christ. Is that what I'm understanding? Just to be clear.
Sharpshooter
That is,
fallacy, basically.
yeah.
You're shooting an arrow at a tree, you're painting a target around it, and you're calling it a bullseye.
But all you proved right there, and this is kind of why I wanted to stop. Like, just because you prove that Israel is also called a servant of God does not prove that it's talking about that here. When obviously,
So over
we
8
can
times,
disagree on the grammatical
so,
stuff, but
so over 8 times the servant is called Israel. In this one time, it's about not Israel, even though it refers to this suffering servant as a them in the plural. Why my brother, my fellow Israelite, why should I think this is anyone other than Israel?
because it uses the singular pronoun. That's what I started
But
with.
my brother, the prophets often use the singular pronoun to refer to Israel. Hosea 11 verse 1. When Israel was a child, I loved him, and out of Egypt I called my son.
Well, no, because that's different though. Because like it's kind of how we have a possessive pronouns in like English.
And Stoney, can I be your
Possessive?
lawyer
It's
for
being
just a second?
whenever you see the Hebrew there, it's obviously being possessive of what it said
And
before.
Stoney, I want to
Go
be your
ahead.
attorney just for a moment. I want to help you out here. Your argument should be, I understand that this text is clearly talking about Israel, and the way in which the genre of rabbinic midrash, which is being used in the Christian Bible, it is using the text to proof text in a different way. It is using the text as a midrashic form in order to demonstrate something that the early Christian authors were trying to use the Hebrew Bible to bolster its own claim in its own time.
Okay. Well, okay. So let me ask you this, and I think this is another way to kind of look at this issue. So you pull to these other Isaiah chapters, and you say, well, we see Israel is called a servant, so we should say
Consistently.
that chapter 53 is talking about,
Yeah, because in the original
the
Hebrew,
suffering servant is Israel. But okay, but this is my question.
because it's important to remember, in the original Hebrew, when this portion of Isaiah was written, there are no chapter divisions. It's one continuous text.
Right. Okay. So my point is, all right, let's just say we believed, all the book of Isaiah, and we said the book of Isaiah is true. Let's just grant that the New Testament's true. At that point, would you say
Why?
it's ridiculous to think about this is about Christ?
What? No,
I'm just
no,
asking
no,
you straight up. Straight up.
no. What? No, you cannot believe that all of Isaiah is true and all the New Testament is true. That's the problem. Is that the authors of the New Testament are consistently molesting the Hebrew Bible? So no, I'm not going to grant you
Well,
that the
we
New
haven't
Testament is
proven
just
that
true.
with what we've talked about. Like, you might have
Oh,
that point on your live in general, but we haven't talked about that.
I should make a whole live just about how I probably won't use that word on the picture in the background, but yeah, authors of the New Testament are consistently molesting the Hebrew Bible, and again, why should I give a fuck what the New Testament says? Isaiah claims is just about the suffering servant of Israel.
Yeah, once again, it just doesn't talk about Israel before that. So it's just
It
jumping to a
does.
conclusion
It
that's not
does.
there. In chapter
No.
53?
No. There is no chapter 53. There are no chapters in the original manuscript. They are, if we were living 200 years
Yes,
before the
I
time of Jesus,
understand that. I
and you
understand
said to
that.
me,
I understand that.
my brother, it's not in chapter 53, I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about, my brother? Because there are no chapters. This is just one text. And consistently, Isaiah, up until this part, tells me that the servant is Israel. And I don't stop randomly at 52 verse 12 because it doesn't 13 because it doesn't exist in the text.
Okay. How about this? How about this? How about this? When was the last time? Let me ask you two basic questions here, okay? Since we don't want to say that it was perfect prophecy, written grammatically like that, even though people will agree with that, but you won't. So,
Yeah,
if
fundamentalists will agree with that. Yeah.
no, well, you might find some sources, I'm sure, but so let's just say this: when was the last time before this that it was directly said that Israel is alluding to my servant? Because first off, it never says that in the
To
sense of that.
I think I
That's like
think I think
saying,
Rabbi just pointed out that it was only 2 chapters prior to Isaiah 53 that mentions, and Isaiah 49 mentions the servant is
but
Israel.
this
Is
is
that
the
correct,
other.
Rabbi?
Can I say one thing really quickly? Like,
Yeah, I really want to
Yes.
get to my other point, but go ahead.
sure, okay. I think that everybody who is referencing Isaiah 53 should first have to understand Jeremiah 39 and understand the excruciating um, torture that the Israelites underwent in order to go into Babylonian exile. When I read the Exodus story, I'm actually reading about the liberation from Babylonian captivity. When I read the entirety of the Bible, what I'm actually reading is the experience of Jews under Babylonian captivity, flayed, slaughtered, taken away in chains, had their entire families unalived in front of them, and then their eyes gouged out. This is the wound that is being spoken of. Literally, here it says, they captured him. They captured Zedekiah and brought him before King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon. The king of Babylon had Zedekiah's children slaughtered at Riblah before his eyes. The king of Babylon had all the nobles of Judah slaughtered their eyes. Then the eyes of Zedekiah were put out, and he was chained in bronze fetters, that he might be brought to Babylon. And what we don't hear is any of this king's words. There is literal silence from the people because they are being torn away from their families, torn away from their society, dragged in chains to Babylon. And then you read Psalms 137, and you understand the depth of the pain that these people went through. And the first time you hear words about this is blessing on those who repay Babylon in kind.
Yeah. The author literally speaks about how it says, by perversion of justice, he, Israel, was taken away into the captivity, taken away. Who could have imagined his future? Because it seemed like they were completely worked out. For he was cut off from the land of the living, stricken because of the transgression of my people. Actually, as it says in the actual Hebrew, because of the transgression of my people, they were afflicted. I mean, I think Ezekiel goes into great detail about how Israel was dead, but in the return from exile, they are like raised to life.
Mechaye hametim.
Okay, so are we just like what are we exactly talking about right now? Just narratively how Israel's been oppressed and all that, like just generally
This
speaking.
is the story arc. This is what
Yeah.
the text is talking
Yeah.
about. Like, this is not for Christians. It's not a Christian text. It is a text
Yeah.
written by Jews, likely elite Jews, who are experiencing this extreme suffering. Like, it's not like a pity call. I'm not asking for your pity here. I'm asking you to read the text for what it says. That's all.
When
Yeah,
this
like
section when this section of Isaiah was written, the Jewish people had undergone great suffering in the Babylon exile, and under King Cyrus the Great, they were finally released to go back to the Holy Land, and that is the setting for when this text is written, and that is what the prophet is describing: how the servant has suffered and been seen as dead, but God is going to exalt them.
Okay. So, like, once again, and this is what I said earlier, like, to all that, I just say, like, So all of a sudden we need to understand the context and everything. But when I say the context of how they talked back then, we say, well, we can't give it special treatment. But now it's just all about understanding that. That's my thing. We can't.
We're treating Isaiah the same way we treat every text from the ancient world. I would treat any other ancient text given to me in the same manner I'm treating Isaiah right now. I would look to the historical context of when it was written. I would look at what the original language says. I would read the surrounding passages if I wanted to understand a particular section of a work. I'm treating Isaiah the same way I treat any other work.
That was the original point.
But here's the
Is that
problem with that.
imagine,
This is what I want to say.
imagine,
This is what I want to say.
imagine that the Christian Bible didn't exist, and you're reading this text from the beginning to the end. If the Christian Bible doesn't exist and you don't have the lens of Jesus to read this through, it doesn't say what you're saying it says. It says what it says.
Well, okay. So, I mean, that gets into more of an argument of should we believe the New Testament, which isn't necessarily what
We
we're talking
shouldn't.
about. Which I think we
No,
should, but
should you begin reading books in the middle of the book, or should you
no.
begin reading books
uh,
from the
We
beginning
are
of the
talking
books?
about should we believe in the New Testament, because the whole point of the New Testament is to tell us that Jesus is the Messiah.
Also, I
We
would read
are
a chapter
talking
of the
about
second
discrediting the New Testament.
But like, let's just say I granted you. Let's just say, and I don't believe this, but even if I granted you were right about Isaiah 53, that wouldn't. How would that discredit the New Testament?
Well, the New Testament
It would
makes
only
the
be
claim
the
that Isaiah
beginning.
53. Yeah, Matthew chapter 8 makes the claim that Isaiah 53 is about Jesus. So the author of Matthew would be just wrong
Oh, I see
about.
what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Okay, so you're talking about it. That my bad. I misunderstood what you were saying. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I believe the New Testament, so that's definitely a
I
disconnect
don't.
there.
The authors of the New Testament are completely as I've said, bumfucking and molesting the Hebrew Bible repeatedly,
No, I
especially Paul.
disagree with that. I disagree with that
Yeah,
completely.
Paul himself is probably the most egregious example of this. Like Paul, okay, you're familiar with Paul's whole argument about the seed versus the seeds
Sure, in what section?
in Galatians chapter 3. Galatians chapter
Oh
3
yeah.
verse 16 explicitly, he says, "And it is written, seed as in to one, and not seed as to many, because the seed is referring to Christ." You remember that argument,
Sure, yeah. What about it
Rabbi?
specifically?
Rabbi, what's
Yeah,
the
it's so
Hebrew word
interesting.
for? What's the
Yeah,
difference
'cause
between the Hebrew word for seed and seeds in Hebrew?
well, so in biblical Hebrew, there is no difference. Seed and seed, in the same way that what's a good
Deer,
example? Like deer and
deer.
deer. Yeah, thank you. If there is no difference, the first time that you see ziraim is in Mishnaic text,
Yeah.
for what it's worth.
But by
So,
the way, just a quick side note: Cyber says to run the pilot argument in the comment
oh,
section.
yes. If anyone brings up why we shouldn't believe the historicity of Jesus, like maybe I'm sure I'll just run it by Instoni real quick. Instoni, according to
We
the
are
Gospel of
jumping
Luke,
around. I'm fine with this, but I am not. We are
uh,
jumping to a lot of different things. But
I,
go ahead. Sorry.
I've
I was just
yeah,
making
I've,
a note of
yeah,
this.
I've just yet to run this by a Christian yet. Instoni, according to the Gospel of Luke, Jesus was born during the census of Quirinius, right?
Sure. I'll grant you that. I'd have to double check, but sure.
Well, it's in Luke chapter 2 verse 1. It tells us that in those days a decree went out from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be registered. This was the first registration and was taken while Quirinius was governor of Syria. And then it goes into Jesus' family has to go down to Bethlehem for the census, and then he's born in Bethlehem. So it tells us like the timing. Now, the census took place in 6 CE or 6 AD if you want to use like Christian terminology. Then the Gospel of Luke tells us that Jesus was baptized at 30, so at 30 years set, you get 36 AD. And then, do you believe Jesus had a 3-year ministry?
Sure, yeah.
Because it does
We'll say
mention
that, yeah.
multiple Passovers in the Gospels. So that would bring Jesus's like
3? Okay, go ahead.
then
Sorry, my bad.
that brings Jesus' crucifixion to around 39 CE. The problem being that Pontius Pilate was not the governor of Palestine during the of Israel during 39 CE. He was already out the door.
So you're just saying the years don't match up?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say that I'm probably not informed on the exact years well enough, but I do know that I don't think that I feel like that's a pretty like what's the right word? I wouldn't call it unique. I guess you could say I think that's a like a unique perspective that is pretty much shot down once again by many scholars. Like I think that's kind of like a like self-contained math that I think if you just
Uh, well,
I
yeah,
think that's a quick Google
yes,
search almost.
the imaginary mini scholars. Sure, of course. I mean, I figured that this
Just
would
want,
be the
Well,
answer. But well,
just want to
let's
say
go
good
back
to
to
see you.
Paul.
I have to run, Bible guy.
Oh,
Thank you. Also, I appreciate
that's,
the dedication to Hugo Boss wear. I feel like I see you wearing Boss all the time, which is awesome.
my brother-in-law wears this, and he gives me his old clothes and
It's
so
good stuff. It's good wear.
yeah,
Yeah, it's good stuff.
good wear.
Take it
Yeah,
easy.
absolutely.
Thanks.
Shalom, Rabbi. Actually, you know,
Shalom.
in Stony, we do need to move on to the next guest. We spend way too much time on this one conversation. But you're more than welcome to come back on another day.
Okay. I feel like we just derailed a lot of that, but thank you for having me on. I appreciate you talking to me.
Sure. You have a good day. Okay, now we got the next guest. We have Adriel G.
What
Hi,
was that?
Ashland.
I think that whole thing was just a plea of ignorance and a concession. And I mean that respectfully. Like, you can't just say, I don't know.
Yeah. Adriel, I have 3 questions for you. That's 6. 3 questions for you. Question number 1, are you at least 18 years old or older? Let's see if they're able to load in.
When what I mean by it's fine to say I don't know, but like as an argument being like, well, I guess, and just been like, well, no, I still believe in what I believe in. Like, that's how I mean it.
I think I have to make a video on the prophetic perfect just to put that to bed once and for all, because that's not no serious scholar actually believes in the prophetic perfect. Which, for anyone who doesn't know, prophetic perfect is just this really silly idea that the prophets can speak in as if something's already happened, even though they're speaking about the future. It's just a cope. It's as simple as that. But you know, I don't think Adriel's going to be able to. Looks like they weren't able to load in. That sucks ass. Sir Gamelot, thank you for the roses.
W Sir Game a lot. Yeah, that was the only guess we had.
I love having Rabbi Kavod up because I get to nerd out about Hebrew a little bit. So
Yeah. I like Rab.
let's see. If I ever had the opportunity to have Rabbi Tovia Singer up here, that'd be crazy. Let's see. We have someone, Goku and the Chief. All right, Goku. I have 3 questions for you. Question number 1: are you at least 18 years old or older?
Yep.
Question number 2: do you believe Jesus was the Messiah?
Yep.
Question number 3: what are your pronouns?
He.
All right, I'm Dalton the Bible Guy. I don't think Jesus was the Messiah. Why should I?
Well, for starters, the Bible and the Torah has been with us for roughly 3,000 years.
I disagree.
How so?
Right out the gate.
Yeah, right out the gate, that's not true. It's not been around for 3,000 years.
How so?
Because, like, for example, the Torah wasn't written until the 6th century BCE.
When did Moses write the first 5 books?
Moses didn't exist, and he didn't write the first 5 books. The Torah.
How did the Israelites get out of Egypt, my friend?
They weren't ever in Egypt. That's the
Really?
problem.
So when
They
Joshua went over to the promised land and there were people already there.
Okay, here, let me save you time. Everything from Genesis all the way to the book of Judges, mythic history.
No,
None of
I'll
it's
show
real.
you why it's not mythic history. If you follow, have you ever heard of the wall chart of world history?
The what?
The wall chart of world history.
No. Who produced it?
It was I believe it was one man who actually compiled it, but he had many historians, many scientists actually come
Who?
together and put this chart together. It's
When?
a 15,
Who and when?
it was made in 1997, and it shows the entire chronology from Adam to Jesus, and it shows
Produced
every
by
king. Just let me
secular
finish.
scholar.
Just can I finish for 1 second? Can I just
secular
finish my
scholars,
point?
or were these like Christians who put this
No,
together?
it's a general consensus of history, my friend.
It's not, but all right, go on.
Okay, but you got to look it up before you say no. But just look it up
No,
first.
because I already know that the consensus is that Moses didn't exist. Like
No.
the consensus of biblical scholarship is that
Christian scholars
Moses
are-
didn't
are-
exist.
agree with that.
Okay,
Yeah.
can I just finish my point and then yeah. Okay.
Sure, go ahead.
So-
Tell me about
Edward,
your
hold on. Now that I have it, it's by Edward Hull, and let's see, multiple panels of when the symbol form large continuous timeline and records major empires, diagrams of Earth, and chronology. So I don't see what does this have to do with the Bible.
Because it shows the consistency of the Bible over the thousands of years.
How?
Because it shows every king from every nation that we know of, and it shows also the chronology from Adam to Jesus, and it shows that wherever the Bible said those people lived and what date, it was actually true.
You've got to be shitting me. You just brought up Adam, who definitely didn't exist, because I don't even get into that. No,
So
these people,
why
these
don't you
people-
look it up for a
the con-
minute,
the
and
con-
you
the
can,
con-
you can just
the
analyze it.
the consensus of scholarship is that the Pentateuch was written in the 6th century BCE during the Babylonian exile. It's what's called. Have you ever heard of the documentary hypothesis?
It's not reliable. It's not accurate by any modern scholar standards. No scholar accepts this. It's a Victorian harmonization of the Bible and science.
What is
Your
The
chart.
wall chart.
really?
Yeah, it's not considered.
It shows the entire.
Yeah, you probably
reign of
picked
the
it up
Roman-
at like a store and thought that this was history because it was in a book and on a chart or something.
No, it's because it
Yeah,
it
it
literally
says
shows
it literally-
everything that our historians know.
So no. Human civilization extends earlier than 4000 BCE. That is just a historic fact, and that's what this wall chart argues for.
So you think Moses wrote the Torah?
He wrote the
how
first
does-
5 books, and then the prophets
how-
continued.
How does the Torah end?
The last book in the Torah,
Yeah, how does Deuteronomy end?
Deuteronomy. Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh, the first 5 books. I'm okay. You got me on that one. I'm not like super well
Moses
versed, but
dies.
okay,
Yeah,
okay,
it
sure.
records
And then
Moses'
Joshua,
death.
when Joshua
He can't
takes
write
over.
about his own death, dude.
Okay, you think that Moses wrote that quote, and Moses was the most humble man that ever lived?
Why not? It's in the third person, talking in third person, right?
Yeah, you think Moses said of himself that he was the most humble person that ever lived?
What's a verse?
Let's see. Let me pull it up. Looks like it is Numbers 12, verse 3. Now Moses was very humble, more so than anyone else on the face of the earth. Real
Wait,
humble of
was
Moses.
very
right
humble,
there.
or was what did you say? Was the most humble? What did you say first?
More humble than anyone else on the face of the earth.
Okay, what's the problem with that?
You think the most humble man in the world wrote that he was the most humble man in the world?
Well, if you proved it, why won't you believe it?
That's not very humble to say.
That's a contradiction.
No, it's
Oh my
it's
God.
okay. When you're right, you're right. There's nothing wrong about that.
That's not what
That-
humility is. That's definitionally untrue.
Humility?
Okay. Did Abraham know God's name was Yahweh? Because if Moses is the writer of the Torah, that means he wrote Genesis and Exodus, right?
Yeah.
Okay. According to Moses, did Abraham know God's name was Yahweh?
That's a very obscure question. I'm not sure.
It's not obscure. That was a very precise question. Does the person named Abraham, the patriarch of Israel, know that the God he worships' name is Yahweh, the Tetragrammaton?
I'm not sure.
So, if we read Genesis 22, the story of the Akedat, the binding of Isaac, Abraham names that mountain Yahweh Yireh, meaning Yahweh shall provide. But according to the book of Exodus chapter 6 says that God only revealed himself to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as El Shaddai, but by my name Yahweh, I never made myself known to them.
Yeah, but you have to understand he had multiple names over the course of the Torah. And
You need to listen to what I just said. Abraham names a mountain Yahweh, Yireh.
Okay.
He knows God's name is Yahweh.
Okay.
According to Exodus, I made myself known to them as El Shaddai, but by my name Yahweh, I was not known to them.
Where's that? Where? Show me that verse.
Exodus chapter 6,
3.
verse 3.
And Exodus. Sorry, say it again.
Yeah, I just want to
Exodus
know.
3, 6 3.
Yeah, after this, I have one that I've found that it is actually a direct contradiction that is even like better than this. That has to do with historical timelines. Do you have Exodus 6:3, or do you want us to read it to you?
I'm pulling it up.
What Bible are you using?
King James.
It's fine. It'll work.
Okay, it'll work. Okay. I've never done this in my King James Bible.
All right, Goku, what does it say?
And I appeared unto Abraham, unto Isaac, unto Jacob, the name of God Almighty, but my name Jehovah was I not known to them.
Yeah, Jehovah there in the Hebrew is Yahweh. It's the Yud-He, Vav-He. It's the Tetragrammaton. So according to this text in Exodus, does Abraham know God's name is Yahweh?
Yeah, it would look so. Yeah.
Oh, no, it says that God did not reveal his self.
Sorry, I
as
did
Yahweh
not.
to
Yes,
Abraham.
sir. Yep.
Yeah. Now, could you turn to Genesis 22?
Yep.
And look at verse 14.
And Abraham called the name of the place Jehovah Jireh, and said, to this day, in the mount of the Lord it shall be seen.
So does Abraham know God's name or not?
What was Jehovah Jireh? Like, what does that mean?
Jehovah Jireh, or in Hebrew, Yahweh Yireh, means Yahweh will provide.
Okay.
So he calls this place Yahweh will provide. It's the name of the place he calls it.
Mm-hmm.
So does he know the name Yahweh?
Yeah.
Okay, but according to Exodus, he doesn't.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, this doesn't make sense if Moses is the author. It does make sense under what the consensus of scholars believe, which is called the documentary hypothesis, where there are 4 different sources: the J source, the E source, the P source, and the D source, and all these different sources are being collected together to form one book during the time of the Babylonian exile.
Oh, we don't even probably need mine then. I was going to ask him when Aaron the brothers of Moses died too.
This is okay. So, can I just recap on this? So, do you think the Torah and the following prophets who wrote in the Torah were just talking about the Babylonian exile and the Babylonian persecution?
Oh yeah, in 2nd Isaiah, they are.
No, I mean from Genesis. So when you say Genesis
not
written?
During the 6th century BCE. That's when it's all the different parts are collected and brought together to form a single semi-cohesive work.
Okay, so just like the Bible was compiled in 350 to 400, the Torah was compiled in 600 BC, but it was still known before that.
Yeah, you had 4 different traditions, competing traditions, that would come together to make one book. But none of these 4 sources, we have any reason to believe they came from a Moses, and they contradict each other.
Yeah, but hold on. If we actually back up the timeline for a second, right? We see that Abraham got the promised land. Okay, then Isaac, Jacob, right, and then the descendants of Jacob went into captivity.
They didn't exist either.
I know. I just follow my train of thought for a second here. So then Moses took the Israelites out. The Israelites went back to their land, and then say, hey, there's people here, and that's why people get upset with people who believe in the Bible, because God told them to go wipe out those people, right? But
that's really shitty. But
I just follow me. I'm almost done. But if you follow me here, Joshua took them over, right? They got their land back, and then they were a nation, and then the king of Babylon took them over, And then the king of Babylon went crazy for 7 years. And then 7 years went by, realized, hey, God is God. And he started worshiping the true God. Then they got their land back. And then in 70 AD, when Rome had occupation of Israel, they completely sacked Israel and everybody was pretty much put into exile. And in 1948, they came back. So tell me where I'm wrong.
No.
Yeah, most of that history is incorrect.
How?
All of the stuff about because the Israelites were not okay. You have this idea that the Israelites came from a man named Abraham, who was Ur of the Chaldeans.
Sure.
Most scholars today agree that the Israelites were probably just another group of Canaanites that eventually split themselves from the rest of the group.
But they still had
They never
dominion
were
in
in
their land for
Egypt.
thousands of years.
We know this because we have we have genetic testing. Like they were just another people group.
Yeah, but was the
they were
nation of
Canaanites.
Israel was the nation of Israel there for
They
many
are
thousands of
closely
years?
related to if they like the other Arab groups in that region. The
I
Canaanites.
understand that. I understand. It's basically Israel's the Abraham's lineage, right? Because it's the covenant between God and Abraham, right? So, but
No,
God
'cause
also told
Abraham
Abraham
doesn't
he's gonna have
exist.
numerous, like so many
Well,
kids, like stars.
they were just another group of Canaanites that had a belief system.
Yeah, but the
Yeah,
funny thing
Abraham
is, like
figure.
their belief system always
It's
trumped the
a
next
fic.
guys. Like they were
No, they just
protected.
happened
They
to,
were
like,
they were helped.
No.
No.
Yeah, by the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire under Christianity preserved like the existence of like the religion. That's the
No.
only
I
reason.
was talking
Which
before
and
before Christianity was even like fundamentally there. The Roman occupation actually destroyed Israel and sent them all into exile.
sure, yeah, and
And then in 1948, they got their land back. So why did they get their land back in 1948?
well,
That
well,
the
no,
modern
they
state
stole.
of Israel has nothing to do with
Yeah.
biblical aspects. That is like the fact that modern Israel exists is nothing to do with this conversation.
It
Absolutely
has
nothing.
everything
Yeah.
to do with this
Well,
conversation. 'Cause that's the original promised land.
no, it's not. No, first and foremost, it's not. If you actually looked at the borders that God gave to Abraham, it's everything from the Nile all the way past the Jordan River. So they're not even inhabiting all of the land that God supposedly promised to them. Also, the state of Israel has nothing to do with God. There are many rabbis today who will tell you that the state of Israel is a man-made creation because God never promised a like democratic state of Israel. That's completely foreign to anything in the Bible. That was something created by Zionists who are trying to make prophecy come true, but failing miserably.
Yeah, it's an ethno state. Like it's literally
I,
just an ethno state.
I don't think they're trying to make prophecy come true. I'm thinking it is
Sure they are.
inevitable.
Zion?
No,
No,
it's
it's not.
it's inevitable.
It's not
No.
inevitable. It's
It
not
is. It is. Man.
inevitable.
Hold on,
It's
hold on.
not.
You think that murdering children in cold blood is part of your prophecy? You think that that's
No.
what God wanted? Is
Well,
to
it
just
out no,
wipe
no,
out
it
a
outlines
people
in
group?
it outlines in the book of Revelations that many bad things will happen to a lot
See,
of people.
this is why, guys, we shouldn't believe in Christianity because it
You're
comes
just
up with
not.
these
You're just saying
insane,
things I'm not saying.
unethical views.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's no better than the ancient
I didn't
Israelites
even
who
say
slaughtered
that.
Yeah,
children.
You're just putting things in my mouth.
No, you
That's
think that
part of it.
you think the
No, I
modern
You
state of
think
Israel
that
is
land
part.
belongs to Israel, and he's reestablishing his covenant on this land. Therefore, that this slaughtering is just.
No, I didn't justify slaughter. Stop assuming and stop putting words in people's
Well,
mouths.
actually, no.
don't tell me
You
to
actually,
stop.
Like seriously.
actually, you would probably justify it because, of course, you have no problem with the ancient Israelites murdering babies. So you probably have no problem. You would probably have no problem if you believe that this was actually God's plan and that the modern day state Israelis are murdering Palestinian children. You would probably have no problem with that if you thought it was God's
I'll
plan.
tell you what I believe. I believe love your neighbor as yourself and love God with.
I don't care.
Yeah, no. The fact is that land wasn't theirs. They're impinging upon rights and unaliving people. And the fact that you're using this to justify Zionism, it by definition is the return of the state of Israel, and that is what you are justifying. Whether or not you claim that is to be the case, I do not give a shit.
Yeah, gross. All right, we got Suffering Servant. They're a returning guest. Suffering Servant, we've spoken before. You gotta turn off that. You got that background.
Oh yeah, I
noise.
got you. Hold on. A little bit more. A little more, man. Appreciate it. Okay.
I still hear background noise.
How loud is it, man?
It's very loud. It's very distracting. You need to find a quiet
Okay,
space.
give me a second.
All right. Parker says W. Ashland and Dalton. I'll just say that that's probably because it's in alphabetical order, and that's why. Is
this better?
Yes. Okay. Suffering servant. We've already spoken before. You know
Hey,
that I'm Dalton the Bible guy.
We've spoken before. Yeah.
A couple times. Now, why should I believe Jesus is the Messiah?
Well, because we have to establish core beliefs about the Messiah. If we look in the New Testament, even Jesus had people thinking about the Messiah challenged.
According
Like,
to the authors
the
of the
fact-
Gospels, but I don't think the Gospels are true.
Even according to rabbinic Judaism today, or most sects of
No. Okay,
Judaism today.
so what if we're going to talk about the Messiah? What is the Messiah supposed to do according to the Hebrew Bible?
Bring peace to the earth.
Okay, that hasn't
rule over the
happened.
nations.
That hasn't happened.
Okay, obviously all this stuff hasn't happened.
Yeah.
He's also supposed to gather all
So-
the Jews, rebuild the
Hasn't happened.
temple.
Hasn't happened. So
He's
this is you
supposed to
giving me
be-
a list of So you're basically giving me a list of reasons to not think Jesus is the Messiah.
W.
He's also close with God.
Okay, that describes most religious people. I mean, I don't think that anyone is actually close to God because he doesn't exist, but like most Jewish people would think of themselves as being close with God.
Anointed with the Holy Spirit. I mean, something
Most-
that happened to Jesus according
According to the Gospel
New
authors.
Testament. When he,
But also
Yeah.
every single prophet is anointed with the Holy Spirit, so nothing about me Messiah there.
this is emphasized even in Isaiah 11. It says with the spirit of there's
Jesus
like
isn't
a
the-
sevenfold.
Have you read the rest of Isaiah 11? He talks about how this individual would bring peace to the world, and that hasn't happened. So I have no good reason to think that Isaiah
He's
11
also
is about
supposed to be
Jesus.
son of David, descendant from David, according to the flesh.
I have no evidence that Jesus was the son of David.
There is a genealogy.
There's two genealogies, two contradictory genealogies, both of which are useless to Jesus for two reasons. One, because it's Joseph's genealogy in both of them, and Jesus is not Joseph's son. And then secondly, one of the genealogies is through Jeconiah, who his descendants are not allowed to be kings over Israel, according to the prophet Jeremiah. And then the other one is through David's son Nathan, and Nathan's lineage is not the Davidic, like, Messiah lineage.
Why do you say that?
Because the lineage is through his son Solomon. That's who the kingship belongs to. From David to Solomon and all of Solomon's descendants.
I'm pretty sure Solomon's in one of them.
Yeah, he's in the one that has Jeconiah in the genealogy, and Jeconiah was cursed so that none of his descendants could ever rule over Israel.
Where do you find that?
Yeah, let me pull up the passage. It's in Jeremiah.
And I was also trying to appeal to what, like I said, what our views of the Messiah are already. Not like Jesus, because most people don't think Jesus is the Messiah.
For a good reason. So Jeremiah chapter 22, starting from verse 24, this is the prophet speaking, "As I live, says the Lord, even if King Coniah," which Coniah here is Jeconiah, son of Jehoiakim of Judah, "were the signet ring on my right hand, even from there I would tear you off, and give you into the hands of those who seek your life, into the hands of those whom you fear, even into the hands of King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, and into the hands of the Chaldeans. I will hurl you and the mother who bore you into another country, where you were not born, and there you shall die. But they shall not return to the land to which they long to return. Is this man Coniah a despised broken pot, a vessel no one wants? Why are he and his offspring hurled out and cast away into a land that they do not know? O land, 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 hear the word of the Lord. Thus says the Lord, record this man as childless, a man who shall not succeed in his days, for none of his offspring shall succeed in sitting on the throne of David and ruling again in Judah."
Okay, that's enough. And where
Yeah.
is Jeconiah on
Check it.
the genealogy?
In Matthew chapter 1. Let's see. It says here in Matthew chapter 1.
And
give me a
start with
second.
David.
Sure, I'll start with David. That's fine. And David
Yeah,
was the father of
'cause it'll be faster.
Solomon by the wife of Uriah, and Solomon the father of Rehoboam, and Rehoboam the father of Abijah, and Abijah the father of Asaph, and Asaph the father of Jehoshaphat. You got that in the background noise again. I'm going to, just for a second, I'm going to mute you while I read all this off. Okay. Abijah the father of Asaph, and Asaph the father of Jehoshaphat, and Jehoshaphat the father of Joram, and Joram the father of Uzziah. Uzziah the father of Jotham, and Jotham the father of Ahaz, and Hezekiah the father of Hezekiah. And Hezekiah the father of Manasseh, Manasseh the father of Amos, Amos the father of Josiah, Josiah the father of, and Josiah the father of Jeconiah, and his brothers at the time of the deportation to Babylon. And then it goes on to give everyone from Jeconiah to Joseph. Okay, you can
Oh,
unmute
wow.
yourself.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely interesting.
Yeah, so first and foremost, none of this technically doesn't
So-
even matter.
Yeah.
Because this isn't Jesus' genealogy. It's Joseph's genealogy. And Jesus was not Joseph's son, according to Christian theology.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely interesting to say the least. Both, I guess. Yeah, so this basically disproves Jesus being the Messiah because he can't sit on the throne of David.
Correct. That whole lineage is cursed.
How much do you know about the Davidic covenant?
That God made a promise with David that his throne would last forever.
His throne.
Yeah.
Does it make it divine or it's just a throne in Israel?
It's seen as divine because you got a lot of background music, my dude, and sound. You got to go somewhere else completely. You got to go somewhere else where no one's at. You got way too much noise. Anyways, the throne of David is semi-divine because the kings of Israel were seen as like semi-divine because the kings of Israel are seen as the children, like sons of God. Like God is the father of all the kings of Israel, and the kings are seen as like, if you will, divine little g gods of a sort.
Why is David the Messiah then?
David was a Messiah. A Messiah in Hebrew is Mashiach. It means an anointed one. David was anointed. Okay, background noise. Okay. David was anointed, so he was a Messiah. Every priest of
What's
Israel
going
was
on with your headphones? Because I can't hear what you're hearing.
Yeah, you can't hear Suffering Servant's background noise?
He's muted right now.
Right now he is.
Oh, yeah, no. Can anyone else?
Yeah, everyone can hear it. Glitter can hear it. Rosalina can hear it. Aaron can barely hear it. But yeah, it's very loud. But anyways, Suffering Servant, I think you might need to come back when you don't have a lot going on in the background.
I have this taken care of.
Okay. Have a good day. Come back to us later. Alright. What time is it? 8:04. I've done this for about 3 hours. I think that's a good time to call it, everybody. If you haven't already, make sure you follow Ashland and you follow me. And you go to my link page. I got a new YouTube channel. And we are climbing up. I just started the YouTube channel literally this last weekend where I got 250 followers, which is fantastic. And this whole video will be on YouTube if you missed any of it, probably by tomorrow. So, bye everybody.
Bye.